Okay, so welcome back to my channel. Okay, this is going to be like a recap review or whatever you want to call it of Nappily Ever After. Now, I posted the actual promo for it and actually forgot about it, so I watched it today. And this movie has striking similarities to something new. So, where you see Sanaa Lathan, who's this high-powered ad executive, I think she may have been the same thing as something new. I'm trying to remember if she was fresh out of a relationship and she was just looking to, you know, start over with somebody new, or if she had been single for a while. I can't remember, but okay. She comes from a upper middle class. Well, in this movie, she comes from like a, I guess, upper middle class family, whereas in the other movie, she something new. She came from a more affluent family. Her father was a doctor, and there was this whole issue with her hair. It's the same thing as something new. Like, she, you know, she just wore her sew-in, her weaves, and it wasn't a big deal. And until the white guy commented on it, and she ended up throwing him out. And then in the end, she ended up cutting the tracks out. Anyway, sorry, my hair is getting twisted up. My hair. Look at my my new braids. Okay, so of course, Nappily Ever After is about Sanaa Lathan's character, Violet, who her whole life has become, she's like beholden to her hair. And being African American myself, or being black myself, I understand where a lot of that comes from. And the movie actually opens with her and her mom. Her mom is pressing her hair. And as a child whose mammy and grandmammy would take a chair and sit by the stove and put that pressing comb on there and get that, it was a Glover's Maid, I forget what, that grease, and they would oil your scalp, and you would hear that shit snap, crackle, and pop while they go and trying to get them edges and to get that root, get your, well, I guess your hair shaft, not actually the root, correct me if I'm wrong, get that straight so that you can look presentable, okay? And a lot of black parents or moms didn't see anything wrong with it, and a lot of them still don't. And so, can we really fault them for, in essence, kind of fostering this complex that a lot of us have about our hair? You know, I transitioned to being natural. I got my last perm, it was like towards the end of 2010. So I've been natural for some time, some ups and downs. I'm still learning my hair. I can say that my edges has never really fully recovered from the years of perms and pressing combs, and even after I went natural, I was doing blowouts, so I was still putting heat on my edge. So, I mean, your hair is, when you go transition to being natural, and I just had this conversation with the lady at the nail shop, because she was telling me here in Maryland that she travels to way out to Virginia, because she has like a person that she likes in Virginia, and then she has a person that she likes in New York. And she would travel all the way to either Virginia, I forget where she said Virginia, but it's a good little drive. And we know to New York from Maryland is a hike. And so she would actually get on the bus to go get her hair done. And now she was talking about how she was going to transition to, eventually she wanted to be natural. Which I said, well, that's perfectly fine, because, you know, it's going, I guess, transitioning from being addicted to chemicals to allowing your hair to go as it naturally does. It is a big step, and I think a lot of people don't put much stock into it. They just think, okay, well, you're just letting your hair grow out. But for a group of women who have been trained, who have been indoctrinated with who have been inundated with the white standard of beauty, where if it's not straight, then it's not neat, it's not professional. And I think a lot of people don't really take into account the mental aspect of it. Like I said, even when I transitioned to natural, I was still going to the Dominicans to get these blowouts, which actually created heat damage. So no, I wasn't putting the chemicals, the perm in my hair anymore, but I was still damaging my hair with the heat, because it was something about mentally seeing my hair straight, even though it wasn't chemically straightened, that was, in a sense, satisfying to me. It made me feel like I looked like I was kept and put together. And so, you know, having this story talk about her, it depicted her mother in the beginning, you know, it was a thing that they did. It was a bonding thing. A lot of black girls know this. We've been through that with our moms. And she, you know, the way her hair was straight, and it just was what it was. And she had all this confidence, and she felt beautiful. And I mean, she's a beautiful woman either way, but it was just something about that gave her, it was like her you know, sword and shield or something. It was like just the way that her body language and the way that she carried herself and the way that people took notice of her. It just, all of that reinforcement that what she, even though they probably didn't realize that's what they were doing, it was just that reinforcement that, okay, you're beautiful because of your hair. And not that she's physically fit. I mean, her shape and everything. And the reason I'm going to say that is because later on in the movie, after she cuts it off, you see the difference in her treatment. Now, the thing is, I don't know. It can be said that she was viewed differently because she projected a different attitude afterwards. So let's go back a little bit. So she's in a relationship with Clint. Clint is Shadow Moon from American Gods, and I can't wait for season 2. Okay, so they're I guess kind of living together. They've been together for a couple of years, and he's never seen her unkempt. She's always presented this person to him as being perfect and put together. So in these 2 years, which is no easy feat, right? Because as a kid, her mom has always had beat into her head that you have to present yourself a certain way, and it all starts with your hair. And so you see this interaction between her and her mom. Took her to this pool party, and all the kids were swimming around, and she was just standing there watching them. And you know, this little boy was kind of heckling her, and she eventually jumps in, much to her mother's chagrin, like, oh my God, don't you dare do that. And so she jumps in, just having a good time being a kid, and comes up, and you know how your hair reverts, girl. And it probably smelled like it was fried too, because you know how hair, curled or flat ironed hair smells after it gets wet. It smells like burnt hair. So, and he's looking at her like, oh my gosh, you look like a chia pet. And so the kids started to ridicule her, and it was just a whole bunch of trauma. So here she is now. She's this high-powered executive. She seems to appear to have everything together. She has this handsome boyfriend who's about to finish medical school. He's about to become a doctor. And it seems like it's all good, right? So, you know, they're having this party, and she just assumed that this party that he's going to be proposing to her. And so they get to this party, and she done told everybody she knows that she's gonna be flashing some rock, like she's gonna be Mrs. So-and-so, right? So much to her chagrin, they get to this party, and he presents her with something. I think it was in that little box. Then he brings over a larger box. It was a puppy. It was a puppy. She was like, oh, so she's kind of like handling the puppy, all kind of like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And so, of course, it was just a really awkward moment. And so they get back to the house, and she was, I thought you were going to propose, and you know, this whole thing, it was a whole emotional scene. And he basically told her, like, you know, we've been together 2 years, and I've never seen you, like, I feel like I don't really know you, because you always present this person to me as being so perfect. And while he had a valid point, you know, as her not fully being her, she was being her authentic self, because that's all she ever knew. But to us as the viewer, and for him, I guess, in the relationship, it just seems like, you know, she was just so, there was like this distance between them. Like, he really didn't know her. But bitch, nigga, it didn't take you 2 years to figure that shit out. So he ended up screwing her for 2 years, and then here 2 years putting gone by, she's expecting the ring, and now you trying to tell her how you don't really know her. That was some bullshit. Okay, for real. Anyway, and so she, you know, basically was like, this is not what I want, and she ends up breaking up with him. So he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, she ends up, it was what it was. And so of course she starts going through, all of these changes, especially when it came to her hair. And so she decided that she was going to shake it up. Now I'm not going to go into every single detail that has to do with this movie. You have to go and watch. But she eventually goes into I should go back a little bit. So she was all done up for this, what she thought was an engagement party. And so you saw what a lot of us can relate to is when she saw some kids playing, she got sprayed with the hose, and of course her straight hair started to zoop. So now she's like, I can't, be presented like this. You see this hysteria that a lot of us has felt like when we feel like, our hair is laid and, slayed and laid. And then, like when I used to go to the shop to get the blowout, and as soon as I was go out into the humidity, my hair would just feel like a freaking helmet, which is one of the reasons why I stopped doing it, because I feel like I'm wasting my money. My hair would poof up, so I would have to like get home and wrap my hair right away just to maintain and try to hold on to my little style for as long as I could. And so now she's begging her friend, who's natural, to see if her hairstylist can fit her in, and she would pay so much to get some other client bumped, and so she did. And so she ends up meeting what's her name, Zoe. Her father owns, I don't know if he owns the shop or he runs the shop, whatever the case may be, but so Zoe said something to her about asked her for some money. She asked her for something, and she said, well, if you can pay all that money to get somebody bumped, I just thought that, so Zoe was a little too sassy for me, right? So she said something about Zoe's hair. Zoe walks away, and she said something about how her hair looked, because Zoe's hair is natural. She's a little girl. She's like 11 to 12 years old. She had a little natural thing going on. And she made some comment that hurt Zoe's feelings. So now she's being called to the shampoo bowl, and whatever she had at the woman, she had put some perm or something in it, whatever she put in there. So she thought that she had put like conditioner or something, which is some bullshit, because come on now, we all know, if you've ever had a perm, you know what chemical perm smells like. So we're going to pretend like she didn't know that was a perm that she put in her hair and just had her under dry like she was doing a deep condition, right? So she starts burning. She's like, okay. And so she was like, can you wash this out? And the lady was like, oh, you got 10 more minutes. She was like, no, I need this to come out of my hair now. And so we had a whole what's love got to do with it moment where she's in that bowl and the lady starts washing her hair, and next thing you know, she starts pulling clumps of her hair out. It was a whole situation. If you remember that scene when What's Love Got to Do with it, when that woman was like, oh, that little girl was like, and one of the ladies in the bed was like, now you know you need an ass whooping. And that's what I was saying about Zoe, like, you know you need an ass whooping. So her father came over, so of course she's hysterical, like her hair's all screwed up and it's falling out, and she's yelling at the kid, because come on now, Zoe. And then the father comes over like, you don't talk to my daughter like that. And she's like, you know what, fuck that. You're going to go down there and go to whatever shop that you got over here to buy me some hair, and you're going to attach it to myself. You're going to fix this shit. You're going to, she didn't say this, but I'm assuming she was going to lead to, your ass is going to end up with a lawsuit at this point, because this is crazy. So she shows up to her engagement party. She had a new do, right? So that's when you first saw, like, with something you can relate to as a black woman, with your hair, what you thought is you planned for this event, and your hair is a mess, and it's almost like you have a panic. You go into like some kind of panic attack. It is just some attachment. The issues that we have with our hair run so deep, and a lot of people just don't understand it. So, okay, we're going to flash a little forward where they've broken up, and she's now going through, this whole thing. Now, she works as an advertising exec, where she handles their beauty campaigns. So, beauty is it's all about image. So, that's her. That's just what her mother groomed, how her mother groomed her and raised her. Is all about image and beauty and that kind of stuff. So, that's what she does for a living, and she was really good at it. And then this happens where she breaks up with this guy, And then she goes in, so now she's all distraught and devastated. So she walks into work. She doesn't have near the amount of confidence. This is where you see her confidence start to slip. And this is before she had the whole hair mishap. Before she shaved it off. So you can see she's kind of disheveled when she walks in. She's her shirt all unbuttoned, all her clothes all, and her button all jacked up. And her assistant or receptionist had to help her get her together before she went to this meeting. And then where she, before when she did her presentation, she kind of sashayed and had all the confidence in the world, and she was feeling. Now she's stumbling like I am and stuttering and. She's knocking over, bumping into things. And it's like the confidence that she once had you can see it starting to slip. And so, she decides that, she needs some retail therapy. So she goes to the mall and surprise, surprise, Zoe is there by herself. And you just happen to be at the mall at the same time as Zoe while Zoe is in the store stealing shit. And you see her stealing. And you stop her. And so she grabs Zoe to get her out of the store and get caught up with the security guard. And Zoe, they end up calling her father. Her father comes get her. He's reaming, going off on her like, what are you doing down here? Why are you down by yourself? What is going on? So now comes out of the mall like, you don't have to talk to her like that. And he was like, mind your damn business. This is my kid. Basically, get your ass in the car. So they go on with their way. And so while she's standing outside the mall, she sees this couple. I don't know if the lady was biracial, but she had her little golden locks or whatever. And she had her little man, and they were just tee-heeing and giggling, and it made her feel some kind of way. So she shows up with her girls. I guess it was supposed to be a girls' night out. With, looks like a regular dress, and she had like some blonde weave in her hair. And so, they was like, oh, okay, that's different a little bit, and so they was like, girl, that is not a going out outfit. So they get her all hooked up, and they go out and have a good time, and she ends up going home with some white guy. Now he wasn't nowhere near he was cute, but okay, now we say he was as fly and sexy as old boy from Something New. But in the end, that was a hot ass mess. He ended up with his busted lip or something. It was a hot mess. She was drunk and a hot mess, and it was what it was. So she's in the cab going home, and this older man driving the cab, and she's talking to him about why her relationship ended. He was like, well, he didn't cheat on you. He didn't beat you. So all he did, he just didn't marry you. And okay, that's an issue with that in the Black community where we trivialize marriage. And if you talk, I don't know, if I had a dime for every time I heard somebody say marriage ain't nothing but a piece of paper, I'd be a very wealthy woman, because the view of marriage in the Black community is not really held in high regard, as you can see is shown by the 77, almost 80% out of wedlock birth rate in our community. So for this guy, you have an older guy who kind of trivialized why he didn't beat you, he didn't cheat on you, all he did was not marry you, like that's like some menial thing, you know what I'm saying? So that was an issue. And so he got all in her head, so she decides that she's gonna go to the hospital where he works. So she sashays up there. Her hair done got wet. I think, was it raining? Her hair got wet and it frizzed up and looked unnaturally frizzy. I'm like, what kind of hair was that frizzed up like that? But anyway, so she just happened to see him sitting out. I guess they were on a break with another doctor, and they were little giggly. Which you threw him out and broke up with him. So she saw this, and then she was about to walk away, and they saw her, and they had a whole scene, and she ends up walking away. And then that night, she ends up taking clippers to her head. She ends up shaving her head off. It was all patched up, all looking a fool in a mess, in a hot ass shitty mess. That's what it looks like. And so she shaves her head off. She had her little party that night. And then she wakes up the next morning in her, I guess, sober mind, right mind, and then she looks in the mirror and realizes what she's done to herself. And so she screams, has a panic attack. There's a knock at the door. It's her mammy. Her mother walks in, and she's talking about something, digging into her purse, and then she looks up at Violet, and has a heart attack, a panic attack. She has some kind of attack. And so she ends up calling her dad, Ernie, who's played by Ernie Hudson, Richard, and her mom was played by Lynn Whitfield. Her name is Paulette. And so she's calling her dad because her mom and dad separated. Which I thought was, they separated because he decided in a middle-aged man he wanted to become a model. And I was like, say, huh? But anywho, her mom, of course, not Miss Paulette. Paulette was like, I don't want that shit. I don't want to see that shit. What are you talking about? You great? Like, she was not having it, so they ended up separating. But she called him, and he came over, and he was like, yeah, she looks like she's gonna be okay, but I think she might think that you're gay, or think that you might be gay, or some crazy he said that it was so funny. But why? Because she shaved her head, and all of a sudden she's a lesbian. Come on now. And he's like, you know, you can't keep calling me for this. And I'm like, well, you're still married, but anywho, she's like, what about me? I need you. And she's sitting there with her still her hair all jacked up, with patched all up, and you know, her and her dad had a little heart to heart, and so she ends up putting a scarf on her head, a wrap on her head, and going to work. And she kind of campaigned for this, one of their biggest clients, which was like a beer company or something. And he's like, well, you're a beauty, you know, her niche has always been beauty, and she's always been very good at that. And he really wanted her to stay in that area, but she was like, I just want to do something new right now. I just need a break from beauty. And so he told her that he would allow her to pitch a campaign and along with other people, and he'll make a decision. Okay, fine. So she receives a letter from Zoe. How Zoe found out where she lived, I don't know. But she ends up going to their house. Zoe is there by herself, and she showed up with a gift, and she ends up buying. I don't know if there was a dress she was going to steal, but Zoe was trying to steal or whatever. But she ends up buying her a little dress. It was a little cute little dress, and she kind of sat on the porch while Zoe went in the house, put it on, and she, you know, basically reinforced her and like how cute she was, how beautiful she was. The dress, it was a little cute. She sashayed and doing her little thing right. And she made a comment about her hair, about how she hated her and her weight. Like at 11, she's like 11 or 12 years old, and she's already having these body image issues and issues, you know, with her hair. And which is interesting because her mother is not in the picture. You never see her mother. You don't know. They never talk about why her parents are not together. Of course, that's not germane to the story of Nappily Ever After, but she's been raised by her father, and so her father is a naturalista. Like, he prefers women with natural hair, and that's basically what he promotes. And he actually created a hair care line to help women with natural hair. And so, even having that, she still has these issues with her hair, how she feels about herself, and all while she's still dealing with her own issues. She tells her that, oh, you don't need to be, you know, perm, like basically you're perfect the way that you are. And so so she's sitting on the porch, and she's like braiding cornrow in her hair. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they have a little moment. And so, which is the complete opposite of the moment she had with her mom, where when her and her mom were together, she was putting a pressing comb to her edges. But they're sitting on the porch, and now she's like, you know, cornrow in her hair, and they're just having a little conversation or whatever. Dad shows up, and she, you know, she's, you know, very apologetic about everything. They had a little conversation. They end up asking her to stay for dinner, which is, the story is kind of weird. Like, okay, so this woman shows up, and you invite her to stay for dinner. They sit, you know, they talk for a minute about a lot of different things. I tried to keep notes here, and you know, he was talking about hair and how he talked about his hair care line, and how he always, you know, she's just trying to change people's mind one head at a time, and you know, the whole thing. And he ends up asking her out on a date. And so she, you know, agreed. And so she's, you know, back at home getting ready for, you know, next day or however many days later, she's getting ready for the date. Her mom comes over, and to show her the catalog that her father's in. So she opens the magazine, and she's like, oh, her mother's like just so disgusted. Like, oh my God, I'm just so embarrassed. What the hell is wrong with him? What is he thinking? So he's sitting there in some drawers where you can see his package has been enhanced. And she was like, oh my God, people are looking at that like I've been dealing with that. And it was just, that shit was so funny. Like, what are people going to think? And so Violet was like, that you're a lucky woman. She's like, oh, it's like, Mom, I gotta get ready for my date. And so she basically left her on the couch with that magazine so she can go on and get ready for her date. And so she shows up, and then he's kind of like the guy, oh my God, what is his name? Will. And so Will, he's there, and he's like very casual. It looks nice, but it's casual. And she's overdressed, and so she sees this little shop. He's like, well, you look fine the way you are. So she goes to kind of buys a top or something there to look more casual. And so they sit down, and she, they got this little, he took her to this little spot, and she ordered a salad. He was like, I want a cheeseburger, fries, and a drink. And she's like, oh, you know what, I'll have the same. And so they sit down and had a little conflab, and it was, it was a moment. It seemed like they had a pretty decent date. And so she eventually invites him to her family's 4th of July party. So, but she didn't tell anybody she was bringing a date. So they show up, and the mom was like, okay, you basically didn't tell me that you were bringing somebody. And it's probably because mom felt some kind of way because it was, what's his name, Gerald or somebody? Mom probably already had somebody there, Gerald, to introduce her to, but she came with a man. And the mom was bougie, like, almost like, what's her name? Oh my God, Alfre Woodard and Something New, just bougie, right? So she was like trying to figure out what this guy does, and he, she kind of stepped in and said, oh, he owns his own business, because at one point she didn't want to come out and say that he owns a salon. And so, because that wouldn't have been good enough. Like, how do you go from a doctor to a guy that owns a salon, which is an issue in itself. But and I'll get to that. But and he was like, but eventually he said that, yeah, and anytime you need a cut, you can, drop by or something. It came up, and you can see he walked out because he was upset, because he felt like she wasn't accepting of him. Oh, she was embarrassed of what he does. And which is an actual thing. And you usually see these in relationships where the woman is more, I want to say, in this situation, more successful than the guy. She's a high-powered executive who's making a 6-figure salary. He lives this fabulous life. She comes from this upper-middle-class family. She has this gorgeous home. And he's a single father. Although he has his own business, he's a pretty decent, pretty decent home. But when it comes to their social circles, they would move in different circles. I mean, let's just keep it real. Had it not been for her needing to get into somebody's chair to get her hair done for her engagement party, she would have probably ever seen this man or his daughter. Because that's not the circle that she travels in. That's not the kind of salon that she goes to. You know what I'm saying? So it was more of an urban salon in a certain neighborhood. That's not what she does. And I don't want people to feel like, oh, well, that's bougie, or she's being uppity, or whatever the case may be. It's just that people travel. Ooh, it just kind of froze. Hopefully. The thing is, it's just that people travel. Their circles tend to be filled with people who are like-minded. And I think that people don't put a lot of stock in. People think that because you're black, then we're just black, and that's just the tie that binds us. That's a small portion of how we interact and move. We tend to, people who are lower, who come from lower middle class backgrounds tend to have that circle. People who come from upper middle class backgrounds tend to move in that circle. The upper echelons, the same thing. Like, this is not news. And it also paints this narrative, like, why is it always the black woman who's the high profile woman always having to deal with the garbage man, or the guy that owns his salon? Or, why couldn't it be like another doctor or another lawyer or another, high-powered executive? You know what I'm saying? It's always this narrative that this successful black woman is always having to pair herself with a man who's not on the same level as her. And that's not saying that in a bad way, because I know that a lot of people see that as a bad thing. But like I said, like-minded people move in certain settings. And you can see that when he met her mother at the 4th of July party. Like how she felt like just coming out initially and saying that he owned a salon. Like, she knew that her family, at least her mom, would not be okay with that because of her upbringing. You understand? So, I hope I'm explaining that in a way that's not going to offend people, but I guess, people who look for offense find offense. But it just is what it is. So, he ends up storming out, and they parted ways at that point. So, she goes in to do her pitch. And it's almost like he told her that he would allow her to do the pitch to placate her. That's how it came off. But, like, he never really had any choice, because the agreement was that she could do her pitch, but if he didn't like it, that she would go back to doing beauty. Which was the agreement, which, okay, was fine. But it seems like he did that because he never really intended to take her seriously for this ad campaign. Because her and another woman there, she did this really nice pitch, detailed pitch that was very down to earth and that was relatable. And then, of course, you had the two guys who did their pitch, and it was like some busty blondes on the boat, and this square guy, you got this muscle-bound guy, this whole thing, and he went with their campaign. And so you can tell, like, that was just like, okay, you just put me through these motions, and you wasn't really giving me a real shot. You was just trying to placate me. So she basically was like, you know what, fuck this, I quit. And so she walked out, and he was like, okay, what? So he's trying to call her back, and she was just like, nah, I'm done. And so she goes home, turns on some hip hop, and starts twerking and getting down, boogie oogie again, which she's never done before. And of course, she doesn't know that Clint is there. He's there packing up the last of his stuff to leave. And so she's just getting down. He's watching her for a minute, and she sees him, and it's like she screams, like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Why?" And he's like, explains to her that he's just packing up the stuff to get out. And he's like, "Wow, I've never seen you do that before." And you can see that he was like kind of, because remember in the beginning he said he's never seen her. She's always been so put together, and so he's never seen her let loose like that, and that kind of he saw her in a different light at that point. And so he said, she was like, "What's that smell?" So the little dog, she still kept the little dog he gave her. She's like, "I think he doesn't like, he's being protective. I guess the dog pissed on him." So she's like, he smells like piss now. So he's like, "I'm just gonna go pack up my stuff and I'm gonna take a shower. I'm going to take a shower." She's like, "Okay, just fine, just go get on." And so she ends up joining him. And they get down in the shower. And she was like, "Oh, okay," because this is, of course, her, this new freedom that she's found, as it relates to her, which kind of coincides with her new hair. And so there is a certain amount of freedom you do feel when you go natural. I can attest to that, because, girl, when I have my little twist outs, and if you've ever seen on my other channel, I have videos where I have my natural hair out, and when it's it's just something about it, like I could just run my fingers through. I just don't have the hang-ups with my hair as I used to. I'm not saying that I'm completely over the programming that I received as a kid as far as presentation and how my hair looks, and that I don't still have those moments where I'm self-conscious about it. I don't know if it's a test to the amount of time that I've been natural, or as it comes with age, because I am 30-something years old. So, but I can say there is something about going natural, just letting it go, honey. And so she let it go and dropped it like it was hot and brought it back up and twirled in a circle in that shower with Shadow Moon. Okay. And so they was on their way to a reconciliation. And so the next morning, he actually got down on one knee and he proposed to her. So now they're planning this engagement party. And they're going to, they're to their engagement party at their parents' house. And for whatever reason, he asked her to straighten her hair. So while he was all good about this new her and this more relaxed and more inviting and welcoming her, he still attributed to her hair being straight as things being perfect. And so he kept saying, I want everything to be perfect. So he's nervous and he's like, I just want everything to be perfect. I think she's going to be his family, and just, can you straighten your hair? Because I just want everything to be perfect. And so you can see, like, if something happens to a woman when she goes natural, and all of the mental work that it takes to get to that point, and then to have somebody come back and say, okay, well, can you do this because I like this different, you're liable to get your ass cussed the fuck out. Like, seriously, for all the mental and emotional work that it takes for a woman to get to that point, and to just have somebody be like, okay, that's cool, but can you, like, no, I'm not doing shit, and you can go without me. But I guess to keep the peace, she decided to straighten her hair. And so for whatever reason, she still maintained a relationship with Zoe, and she invited Zoe to the party. And so she's walking around, she, in this gorgeous dress, her hair is, it's straight, but it's a cute little short, little style or whatever. And, as the night wears on, her feet start bothering because she's wearing these damn heels. She goes to sit down, and she was gone for hours. So he's like, where's, Clint is looking for Violet, like, where is she? And so she finds her in the pool house. She took her shoes off. She was like, I can't deal with these shoes anymore. And he's like, well, what? He's like, I can't put the shoes on anymore because they hurt, and I can't walk out without barefoot because then I won't be perfect. And so she basically was like, you know what, to hell with it. So she walks outside and she talks about, I want to go for a swim. And so she jumps in the pool, and of course he's sitting off to the side like, what the hell, what is she doing? So she jumps in the pool, and then she starts inviting other people to jump in the pool, and so other people started jumping in the pool. And then her mom and dad, her father actually threw her mom in the pool and jumped in, and then her wig came off, and it's the first time you saw her. It was just a whole big thing. You could see that they were on their way to a reconciliation, mom and dad. And you could see that Clint just wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. He wasn't going to be happy with the new her. So it's like, you didn't want to marry the old her, because after 2 years you were still talking about how you didn't really know her, and now the new her, the person you said you wanted, it's like you have a problem with her too. So so you can see after that, there was no wedding as far as we know. And so the next thing you see is, hold on, look at my notes. So the next thing you see is, Violet, she's actually with Will, and she's helping him promote his products. It's a black company now, because before it was a boardroom where she was the only black person. It was her. She was the only black person. I think it was an Indian woman. But in this boardroom, it was all black people. And so she was, promoting his hair care products. And they was like, well, why would we take on these products that's going to undercut, that could potentially undercut these other products that we sell? And she was like, basically her pitch was, a lot of companies are moving towards that. A lot of these companies are not getting rid of their old lines to keep their old customer base. They are creating the natural products for people who are natural hair products to get a new customer base. And she was basically like, that's basically all you're doing. And so he thanked her for her work, for helping her out. And they he said, so hopefully we're even. And I guess she was making up for the whole issue with her family. And so they seemed like they parted ways, like they were going to be friends. But I mean, I'm glad that they didn't show her she didn't end up with either guy. That's what it seemed like. It seemed like she didn't end up with either guy. She basically sashayed on with her natural hair, and she had that confidence that she had in the beginning, even with her hair, I guess not being quote unquote perfect. So it was an interesting movie. There were some parts of the movies where I was like, I don't know if I like this. But I mean, it was, you know, a lot of black women can relate to what her character, what Violet went through in this movie. A lot of black women and girls can relate to Violet's relationship with her mother as it relates to her hair. And what you did find was that at the first engagement party, there was a lady that talked about Paulette's mom. This is Violet's mom, Violet's grandmother, and how she would stay on Paulette about her hair. And so this wasn't something that started with Paulette, just the same with us. This whole thing about our hair and the beauty standards didn't start with our parents. It didn't start with our grandparents. This started way back on. This was not an issue that we created, but it is an issue because of the mental scars and the brainwashing and whatever else you want to think of. It is an issue that we continue to perpetuate. I am glad that a lot more people are moving towards becoming natural, and I mean, I think it's a great thing. And you know, you got to take your hats off to the people who initially did that, because obviously that was before my time. I was still probably getting perms and pressing curls, you know, when women were walking out with their natural shaved head. That was just not. And so you have to take your hat off to the women who were that bold and courageous to do that. But you know, it's been over the last 10 years or so, 5 or 10 years, where you've seen a big movement back to natural. So you'll have a lot of more women doing protective styling like I do. Like I just keep my hair braided and do the crochets. You have people who do that. You have people to do the wigs. You have people to do the tracks. I mean, whatever, you know, whatever suits your fancy. But you know, having gone through that journey, I can say, and being a black woman who remember once being a young girl, who experiencing that, I can relate to a lot of what happened in the story. So yeah. So I hope I wasn't all over the place too much, but there wasn't a long movie, but there was a lot of stuff happening in there. Obviously, I didn't talk about every single thing that ever happened. You're gonna have to go and watch it. And of course, leave your comments in the comment section if you've already watched it, whatever the case may be. Or, you know, just talk about your issues with your hair and your relationship with your mom as it pertains to your hair, and some of the messages you got when you were growing up, and some of the messages that she may have told you she got from her mother, your grandmother. So I'm going to end this here, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.